Damn.
I mean, you say, like, I got notes for days. Well, that's what we do in radio or in journalism or in broadcast journalism. But anyway, something I thought about. It had to do with the Warriors.
What's that?
It had to do with something you said yesterday.
What was that?
And it's always been compared to each other. The core of the Giants and the core of the Golden State Warriors. Did the Giants hold on to the core too long? And I thought about that because we're at that crossroads right now. We're at that crossroads with the Golden State Warriors. And you see all the extension talks with Draymond Green, 3 years, $60 million, maybe 3 years, $90 million, 3 years this. And you project out to the future of Draymond Green. And you project out to the future of Klay Thompson. Now, Steph Curry's still playing at a high level. But we're at that crossroads now where you don't want to be like the Giants and start overpaying guys to stay, and then you go through a stretch like you did through 2017 through 2020, where it wasn't even pretty. And you couldn't bounce back till 2021, which at this moment looks like a fluke. The Warriors are in that situation right now where do you really extend the core? Do you really extend Draymond Green? Because now feels like the perfect time to abort that mission, a retool around Stephen Curry.
So, we were actually having a comparable conversation with Spadoni. One of the things that, I guess, envy isn't the right word, and I'm not mad at him for doing this, but I think the context of LeBron James's career, it's undeniable at this point. When you're comparing resumes, anytime his organization reached an inflection point where either they ran out of assets, they were faced with tough decisions, there was an aging roster. Anytime there was even a slight hint of tough times, what did LeBron James do?
He pivoted and got guys traded, retooled, or he bailed.
Yeah, I was going to say bailed first. I mean, that's really what he did, right? And so, when I look at all of the different, Curry versus LeBron, well, part of the big mix is like Curry stayed with the same organization, right, throughout that entirety of his career. And I think it's very, very difficult to stay in one place and retool and rebuild and continue to remain a top-tier organization throughout the entirety of it. Kobe had a very difficult time with this. Derek Jeter. I'm just going Peyton Manning, guys, Tom Brady, guys that played in one place for a long, long, long time. And even Peyton Manning, he had to go to the Denver Broncos at the end of his career.
Well, he had the neck injury, so the Broncos, or the Colts, they had the number 1 overall pick, and it was the perfect transition.
Exactly.
You know what? Let's go younger. Let's go to Andrew Luck. Thank you, Peyton Manning, for your services. But now it's the perfect time to move on.
But it worked for Peyton Manning because he goes there and they've got weapons.
I could argue that it worked for both.
No, that's a good point. That's a good point. But I guess where I'm going at with the Warriors right now is they are at an inflection point, Bonte. And then as I compare and contrast the Giants, let me ask every diehard Giants fan, and this is a serious question because I asked this throughout the entire of Posey. Posey is not equivalent to what Steph is in basketball.
No.
Posey's lesser than. He's great. But he's not like Steph and what he means to basketball and the Warriors.
Did Buster Posey transcend the sport?
No, that's
right.
But I think we hold them comparably in high regard. I'm not saying exactly the same. Let me ask you this. Would you have traded a couple of years of Brandon Belt gone or Crawford gone or Longoria gone for one more shot at a championship with Buster Posey?
Absolutely. But part of the Evan Longoria trade was to help Buster Posey get to that championship. So I get the thinking there with the Giants. Like, let's get this guy to Tampa Bay, very good third baseman, has some power. Let's try to rekindle that magic and bring in another veteran. Now, it backfired on the Giants. No doubt it backfired on them. Now, the Warriors can't get caught up. It seems like everybody's talking about getting older, getting veterans.
The Giants got older and older, and they acquired a Longoria who was older. They were unwilling to move off of Brandon Belt. They were unwilling to move off of Crawford. And I guess to some degree, that loyalty is noble, but were Giants fans, did they see nobility in that the last couple of years?
No.
I think it was more frustration.
No doubt. By the way, shout out to the mechanics. Good morning to you guys. And so that's where I'm at with the Warriors. You have a Jordan Poole, you have a Jonathan Kuminga, you have a Klay Thompson, you have an Andrew Wiggins. You have some very intriguing pieces here with the Golden State Warriors. But how do you navigate moving forward? Now, the talk's right after the Game 6. Draymond wants to stay. The core wants to stay together. Well, who's saying all this? Who's saying that?
Well, it felt like you're talking about this article from Shams Charania, and it was on The Athletic. It came out, 5 minutes after the game ended?
So it felt like 2 minutes.
So to me, I'm not a journalist, but Bonte, to me, it felt like that was an already ready-to-go story that they literally just hit boom.
To me, it was Shams saw Maverick Carter
and
Rich Paul and they were like, yeah, we're going to try to stick Draymond with the Golden State Warriors. And maybe he saw Bob Myers. Bob Myers was like, yeah, of course we want to keep the core together.
Yeah.
What else am I going to say?
Yeah.
What else am I going to say? So there could have been a little of that, but it was just kind of weird how, damn, already? So when I look at the focal point, I look at Draymond Green specifically. Mm-hmm. Now, we got some Bill Simmons sound from the ringer. I know people cannot stand Bill Simmons, but you know what? It's 2 minutes. And I may just burn it right here, right now to set the tone.
Well, I'm glad that you're bringing this up. I think this is a poignant clip. I have probably, I'm like, when it comes to Bill Simmons in general. But there are times when you hear an outside voice look at what's going on inside your community, and they make a good point. So you know, and sometimes you need someone from the outside to let you know what's going on the inside.
So I've been hot and cold. About Bill Simmons. I used to love Bill Simmons.
When he was the sports guy?
I love sports guy. I love Grantland. I thought Grantland was a really cool site. His HBO show was a dud, no doubt.
Well, I don't think he's great in front of the video.
But I thought his podcasts with Jalen Rose were really good.
Yeah.
But a lot of people across the nation, you know, we all have friends in the industry. We all have friends across this country. And it's always interesting to hear, like, I'm in this LA Fantasy Football League, right? Bunch of LA guys, bunch of Laker guys. They've been blowing up the group chat. But their outside perspective, I sit back and listen to. And their thoughts on everything basically agrees with Bill Simmons here. Bill Simmons here on this podcast on Draymond's relationship and how that maybe affected Draymond Green in this series against the LA Lakers.
I think it affected how he led the team. And you know what's really interesting about the Lakers series? All the Draymond stuff that he does that's great in a playoff series, he wouldn't do to LeBron and Davis. He didn't with LeBron once.
Practically made out with him after they lost to him.
It was actually like shocking. It was shocking because if you have Draymond on your team, it's like, what are the benefits of having Draymond on your team? Incredible defensive player, incredible competitor, pretty good rebounder, great passer. And he seizes on whatever the mental or emotional or whatever weaknesses of the other team, like he did with the Celtics in that series, where he's like, this team isn't tough enough. Fucking bullyballed the Celtics that whole series. Did he try anything with LeBron or Davis that whole series? No. LeBron, I get it. Like LeBron's his friend. They have the same agent, like all that stuff. Like LeBron's like his big brother in a lot of ways. Davis is exactly the kind of guy, if you were doing a fantasy draft of people Draymond Green would with, you'd put Davis on it. He didn't mess with him. And so he was kind of running around. He's like trying to start with Dennis Schroeder and Darvin Ham. It's like, go pick that. Why don't you start fighting the two guys who are kicking your ass? And I'll tell you, like, I think LeBron befriending that guy was really smart because down the road, you never know if you're going to play against somebody like that. And they're going against them. And Draymond wasn't doing any of the normal Draymond stuff against them. So that's one side. And then the other side is the leadership thing, that it's pretty clear that it wasn't the same kind of leadership after that, where he was like a fiery, in everybody's face, like just love the team, all about the team, all about the team. And then he punched somebody. I did think it affected them. I think it affected Poole. Poole was awesome last year. He sucked in the playoffs. He was unplayable. So I don't know. To me, it's like multiple moments. It's how that punch affected Draymond and Poole. It's the fact that Kuminga wanted to play and he would. Like something happened with Kuminga where Kerr was like, I'm out. He'd stop playing him completely. Like you needed Kuminga in the Lakers series. You needed his size and athleticism against LeBron. They didn't even try him.
So that's Bill Simmons.
God, there's so
on the
much in
Ringer
there.
podcast, and there's so much there. And I want to start the show with that. 888-957-9570. I want to hear from Dub Nation on what they think about that clip and if there's any validity to that clip. We talked about this. I screamed and yelled last week, I need a Saginaw Savage in the series. Mm-hmm. I need a Draymond Green barking, talking. Simmons got it right. You didn't see Draymond do that with it. Hell, you saw Draymond help up Anthony Davis at times, and that drove me crazy. These are the playoffs. It's not buddy-buddy. What happened to the barking? And then the Kuminga stuff and the Poole stuff, that's all true. We'll all get to that. But there's a lot of truth to what Bill Simmons said right there. I felt like that. I think you felt like that. A lot of Warrior fans felt like
about
that.
It yesterday.
And nationwide, a lot of people felt like that.
Yeah, and the more and more I've been thinking about, like, what do they do? Draymond has a player opt-in right now, right? Draymond controls what happens here. He either can opt in or he can opt out and become a free agent. And if he opts in, the team does essentially have choices. Like, they can keep him, they can move him. There's a financial component that I'd like to get into. But let's put that part to the side. There's also a chemistry aspect to this. I'm talking about team unity. There's also if I keep you, what does that do to other players on your roster? And I think that as we talk about what happened with Kuminga, as we talk about what happened with Jordan Poole, as we talk about what's going on with Kevon Looney at times because him and Draymond for certain matchups are very, very redundant. As we talk about what do you do in the future with Klay Thompson,
right?
The more and more I'm thinking about this, it's very clear the clouds are moving aside.
Right.
It's addition by subtraction to me.
Yep.
I want Draymond to opt out. And honestly, I think it'd be better for their financial situation to get some cap relief in regards to the luxury tax bill. I think it would open up playing time for Klay at the 4, for Kuminga at the 4. I think you can empower Kevon Looney to do more as a playmaker. And I think from a team unity standpoint and just relieving themselves of some of the drama while getting younger and more athletic, I'm not saying better. Because individually, Draymond is amazing. I'm talking about the offspring of removing him from the situation and he leaves. I think other areas of the team can be
absolutely
empowered. I guess is where I'm going with this.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying they're better without Draymond. I'm saying individually exactly other players can do more things for this team. Well, and if I look at this, I'm just one last thing. Curry's making $52 million next year. Klay's making $43. And I know people, the money. At 71% of the cap. 71% of the cap in 2 players. We agree. They're locked in on those 2 guys. Okay? So if that's the case, and you have to make the best out of Klay Thompson's season, I think moving forward, opening up that 4 position for him is vital.
It's not just a 4 position. You're so stuck on the 4 positions. Just get him out there and play basketball. There's going to be cross matchups everywhere, right?
I hear you.
Like Steph Curry never guards opposing point guards. He never guards opposing point guards. Klay Thompson's always going to be around the perimeter. So whether he's the 2, 3, 4, or 5, small ball
that's
5,
offensively.
He's always going to be offensively on the perimeter. Defensively, he's going to guard 3s. He's going to guard some 2s. You don't want to have him guard power forwards all the time because then you got foul trouble, and these guys are big boys. And I don't think Klay's ready for that on a consistent level. You can maybe steal some minutes here and there, but you can't go 30 minutes playing Klay Thompson against other power forwards.
Well, I think
that's a mistake.
Well, I think as we talk about positionless basketball and stuff, and we talk about different guys having their opportunities, obviously it's matchup dependent. I'm just saying I think there are more options to get the best version of Klay Thompson, Kuminga, Kevon Looney. Like, I'm looking at my roster. And it's not just Dre's good. Yeah, okay. But what about these other people? What about the trickle-down effect? And then what about Jordan Poole?
Well, let me ask you this before we get to Jordan Poole, because there's an entire conversation about Jordan Poole that we'll unleash a little bit later. What is more valuable in basketball today?
Spacing and shooting and the offensive threat, I guess I would put it that way.
That's why I always push back when it comes to Klay Thompson. I get Klay Thompson was awful. In the last 3 games, he averaged 9 points a game. Last 4 games, he averaged like 11 points a game. Shot 20. He was awful. The percentages were in the 20s.
Yeah.
Already was all-time bad.
He wasn't good.
But this whole misnomer that defense wins championships in the NBA is a lie. You got to get bucket getters.
Absolutely.
And you got to play defense in certain stretches. All right?
Yeah, situational defense. I agree with that.
But you got to go get buckets. Yeah. When it came down to game 4, Lonnie Walker got buckets. The Warriors didn't get buckets.
Is GP2 a great defender?
I don't think he was a great defender this year.
I'm just saying in general.
He's a good defender.
Okay. Is he in every team's closing lineup?
No.
And why is that, Bonte?
Because he can't shoot.
Exactly.
And he's not an offensive threat.
And what does the NBA do? They exploit what you can't do, and they put you on an island, and now you are the reason why your team is congested. And so, to your point about offense, I think we've
that's valued more so than anything. So that's why I always push back when it says, hey, let's just dump Klay.
Yes.
There would be about 20 teams lining up for the services of Klay Thompson. Now, I get the $43 million price tag. He tore the Achilles.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. He's not making $43 million.
But now you have to make the best of it. Like that's my thing. Stop talking about how much is. Now it's locked in. How do we make the best of it? How do I salvage Jonathan Kuminga? If I want to keep Jordan Poole, how am I going to get this guy feeling his best?
So
and then Kevon Looney, I feel like we've underrated his offense.
Well, let me tell you something about Kevon Looney.
I think we can unlock more from him.
Kevon Looney in Game 3 against Sacramento showed you everything you need to know about Kevon Looney.
Thank you.
He had over 20 rebounds. He had the double-double, and he also dropped 9 assists.
Yes.
So his playmaking is a little different from Draymond's. Instead of dribble handoffs, Looney's at the free throw line looking for guys, cutting. And you know what? The guy can hit the mid-range jumper. He can hit the mid-range jumper if he wants to. So that's what I want to see. So the whole thing about, let's not get caught up in Klay Thompson being a 4, 3, or 2. He's a perimeter player who's going to hit a 3 and is going to guard a lot of perimeter guys, but at times he can go down to the box and maybe guard a 4 here and there. But he's not a power forward. No, we got to, it's positionless basketball, all right? LeBron James is basically the Lakers' point guard.
Yeah, but he can still move around.
But he's a lot more physical than Klay Thompson.
Yeah.
That's a dangerous game to have.
I always considered him a point forward. Like, he's just so unique. I mean, LeBron's a unicorn.